Hold on. He's a card that really lets players leverage their skill. We're going to talk about that. What's going on, you guys, man? We got a really big, probably the most impactful weekly balance patch ever, man. So y'all already know how we do. We read the cards, talk about the changes. And yeah, man, as always, y'all like, comment, and subscribe if y'all want to see me do more of these, see the channel grow and stuff like that. And yeah, let's get straight into it. So let's go ahead and read some of the changes that happened. So Elsa Bloodstone, they changed her ability to, +2 power whenever the card fills the location. Loki, they nerfed, right? They gave him 1 extra cost. And as a result of that, they decided to, make Collector back to what he originally was. Really huge change on Angela, right? So instead of +2, every card you play is now +1. But she starts off with 2 power. So it's kind of like that what they were doing with Kitty Pryde for a little while. Sauron, they took 1 power away. Mr. Uatu, y'all know how I feel about this card, man. They finally, gave him the 1-2 that he deserved. I don't know why they took that from him, to be honest. And then Hellcow, this is interesting, right? They gave Hellcow 2 extra power. And then same thing with Spectrum. So yeah, man, we just gonna go straight down the line, straight in order. Yeah, just talk about these. Y'all let me know what y'all think. But yeah, let's go ahead and start. Let's just go straight down. So Elsa Bloodstone, we talked about what they did. Let's read why they did it, right? So Elsa landed and took the metagame by storm almost immediately. We certainly intended to make a strong card, but a few factors led us to risk too much with Elsa, and we're aiming to learn from those in the future. One of them was that Elsa and Loki were developed more separately than many of our season pass cards, owing to some unusual scheduling conflicts on other work. We underestimated how resilient each card would prove and how much they will warp the meta as a pair. Our current set of 2-cost cards can too easily lock specific enemy strategies and counterplay away, with Elsa making up for any power inefficiencies they might have. That package has appeared in multiple top performing decks. We're only shaving a little power here, and it's still Elsa's season. We want her to shine, but it should contribute to a more balanced feel of play. So I do agree with the change. I do feel like she had to be nerfed. She was way too strong. And pretty much like they said, man, a 2-cost card that literally does everything for you. And like they said, they want to make new cards strong, right? So and since she's a season pass, they're not gonna nerf her crazy. But I personally feel like she should probably be at least a 3-cost card, right? Yeah, at least a 3-cost card. I just feel like I don't know, man. 2 is just too easy, right? It's too cheap. It's on top of that, it's not an on reveal or ongoing ability, so it's really really difficult to counterplay, the type of strategies that Elsa wants to do, which is usually pair with Kitty Pryde, like Mojo, something like that, right? So it's really hard to counter that because like the only card that can reduce power is or there's 2 cards, right? You got Shadow King and then you got Valkyrie, right? And with Elsa, you play Kitty right there and then you just play her somewhere else on the last turn. So it's really difficult, man. But I do like this change. I do feel like they should boost her cost probably by 1 in the future, like keep her at +2 power, but make her 3 cost 2 power. I feel like that would be balanced. But yeah, man, let me know what y'all think. And yeah, man, I do feel like she needed to be changed. And I like how they acknowledge that they're trying to make new cards strong. That's pretty interesting. Or that's I feel like that makes sense, right? Not broken, but strong, right? So yeah, let's go ahead and read Big Loki. Y'all know how I feel about this brain dead card, man. I hate Loki, can't stand him. Let's read why they changed this dude. Loki's been a tricky card for us. Our internal Loki decks weren't as boldly aggressive as a lot of the top ones proved to be, and there were so many different versions after the release that we wanted to better understand his core strengths in the wild before making any adjustments. And yes, having Loki be a top card for Loki's season was also a goal for gameplay, the same way we wanted Move to matter during Spider-Verse and Destroy for Big in Japan. Loki's strength seemed to be best realized at the top of the ladder. He's a card that really lets players leverage their hold on. He's a card that really lets players leverage their skill with more average performance at lower ranks. We're going to talk about that. When all was said and done, we determined that Loki was offering a lot of freedom and adaptability as a 3-cost card with high power, as that let him compete for priority especially well. We're hoping that this change leads to Loki decks that care a lot more about which cards they get and how to play them as opposed to slamming raw power at an efficient cost. How can you even say this last sentence after saying Loki's strength seemed to be best realized at the top of the card? He's really a card that lets players leverage their skill. What's skilled about taking your opponent's deck? Everything that you took costs 1 less, right? So even the 1-cost cards can cost 0, and then just playing their deck. There's nothing skilled about that. So I have an issue with that. But other than that, man, I feel like he should still be weaker too. For everything that he does, right? For everything that he does, there's no reason for him to be stronger than a card like Sarah, right? With the ability to make your cards actually cost 0 when Sarah can only make them cost 1. Right? You're stealing it. I mean, I agree with the change. They had to nerf him in some way, but he's still stupid. He's not going to do what they want him to do, which is make opponents think, right? It's just a bad design. It's just a bad design, right? It's like Galactus. You're pretty much, whenever you're playing those 2 cards, you're just not playing the same game as everybody else. You're just not. So, I mean, he's just a bad design. He does need to be changed. I agree with this change. They can start by nerfing him a little bit. I do think that he needs to be like 4-2, right? Why is Loki way stronger than a card like Super Skrull? Why is he way stronger than a card like Ghost Rider, right? For all that he can do, it doesn't make any sense, man. Even at 4-2, he'd still be a very good card, right? Still very useful. So I'm glad they nerfed him. Nerf him more. How about that? Let's go ahead and talk about the collector though. Okay, so yeah, just quick explanation. We made the previous collector nerf with the express of weakening Loki base decks, while we determined that the best course of action for the once and future king of Asgard. Given the above, it's appropriate we return the collector to its former stats. So I feel like collector should have never been changed in the beginning. They should have just changed this dude, right? He could have been nerfed twice by now, but he was a season pass card last month. They're not gonna nerf the season pass card, even though they just did. They didn't really nerf her, right? But they definitely weren't. You know what I'm saying? They said they were busy, right? You know, conflicting schedules and all that. So they didn't nerf him. He should be 4-2 by now. And it is what it is. I really have nothing to say about collector. He should have been this the whole time, right? He should have never changed. Angela though, this is really interesting. Let's see what they have to say about her. Right? We've been avoiding this change for a while, with many other adjustments trying to rein in the Angela package and provide more diverse ways to build early power while retaining this linchpin card for some decks. However, those efforts have only dragged other cards down as Angela continued to soar, culminating in a week with Angela in 4 of our top 5 decks. It's time to see how Snap looks without Angela as a massive power source. We're sure this change will reverberate through the metagame in ways we can't yet predict, so avoiding any nerfs or buffs trying to compensate for it, and let's just go on and wait and see what the future holds. Their logic is confusing to me, right? Their logic is confusing to me. They wanted to nerf Angela before, so they nerfed all the cards you play with Angela. Same thing with Loki. They wanted to nerf Loki, so they nerfed Collector, you know, they nerfed Cable, right? And so you guys are finally deciding to nerf the card that actually defines the meta. But then we got Sauron up next. Sauron isn't the issue, right? It's Shuri Red Skull. But here's the thing, man. I do agree that Angela, you know, she should have been toned down, right? She was in 4 of the top 5 decks. And I do like her new ability, or her changes to her ability. I feel like, she's still gonna be good, right? Still get to use her with Kitty Pryde. Um, cards like Falcon and stuff, like all those bounce deck cards that you typically want to use, or even like that Spider-Man Silk Move style of deck, right? So yeah, I agree with this Angela change. It's just their logic, right? In the explanations that they give, it kind of rubs me the wrong. It's just it's kind of weird, man. I like the change though, but yeah, y'all let me know what y'all think about this one. Let's go ahead and talk about Big Sauron. Big Sauron. This change might seem surprising, but Sauron has quietly been one of the strongest cards in the game for a while. Sauron decks are almost never outside of the top 10 and often in the top 5, while Sauron himself is our highest win rate card. There are other elements at play here, as Sauron doesn't see play in other decks, which does inflate his metrics. But the deck has finally crossed the line for us. Don't worry though, Sauron fans. You got some potential new tools planned for him in the future. Interesting. Same thing, like I said, they're trying to nerf Sauron decks, but funny enough, Sauron isn't the problem, right? It's Shuri plus Red Skull plus Taskmaster. That's literally the issue. And the thing is, how are you really gonna nerf Red Skull? Because this is the only deck he's played in. They already nerfed him multiple times. Top of that, you can't really change Taskmaster. It just wouldn't make sense from the standpoint of his ability, right? Shuri, like I said a long time ago, I guess you could just make her 4-0, really. But I mean, I guess this is fine, right? And also they said they got some new tools planned for him in the future. Y'all let me know what y'all think about Sauron though. And let's go ahead and get to the next card, which is Uatu. Should have been 1-2. I don't know why they made him 1-1 as if he was going to be broken. But let's read. When we made the Uatu rework on our last patch, we promised we were shooting low on power to make sure we correctly gauge the effect. Now that we know we have, we're restoring them to 1-2. We're also pleasantly surprised to see a few archetypes trying them out in decks that are very particular about which cards, say locations like Armor and Galactus. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I haven't seen the Uatu outside of my Road to Infinite, right? And barely anybody is using that in Pool 1. Card still sucks, still a beginner card, right? But he should have been 1-2 the whole time. I don't know why they changed him to 1-1. It was not gonna be OP to make him 1-2, right? That's basically a lot of 1-cost cards are 1-2, right? With balanced abilities, right? So yeah, man, this is cool. Not really too much to say about him. Big Hellcow though, what they talking about right here? Our adjustments to a variety of discard effects have worked well, with at least 3 distinct archetypes performing well enough to be interesting. One of the weaker discard cards have been Hellcow, whose combined inefficient stats with randomized discarding in a way that made it hard for him to compete with the likes of Silver Samurai and even Swordmaster. This buff gives Hellcow a more distinct identity as a high power card for decks doing less than targeted discarding, and hopefully it leads to a continued widening of the discard space for different rewards. That's interesting that they brought up Swordmaster, because I feel like Swordmaster at this point was the weakest discard card. I do agree with this change, right? I do agree with him being 4-8, but I also kind of want to see Silver Samurai at 3-7, because I feel not Silver Samurai, Swordmaster at 3-7, because ever since they changed Lady Sif to 3-5, I feel like I haven't really seen Swordmaster at all, and I still saw Hellcow, because you're still taking away 2 cards at the end of the day. So even though it was 4-6, right, you're still powering up your Morbius, right? Also, you're still potentially getting rid of Apocalypse twice. You're giving them like +8 power. So I do agree with this change, but I also want to see Swordmaster get buffed as well to 3-7. I feel like that'd be perfect for him. Y'all let me know what y'all think though. Because up next, we got our last card, which is Big Lady Spectrum. And let's see what they got to say about it. Spectrum has languished for a while among new players. She tends to get abandoned relatively quickly for Odin and Heimdall, who work with a more potent set of cards. Among competitive players, she can often feel like a conditional Doctor Doom. That's facts. This is just a straightforward bump for her. Higher, further, faster. I like it, man. Spectrum, she was very underused, right? You occasionally saw her on like those lockdown decks, to be able to boost your Professor X and stuff like that, like your ongoing cards, right? But she just wasn't she wasn't hitting, bro. She didn't hit. I like this change. Um, it's gonna be interesting to see, like, because we know she's gonna be played in lockdown decks, but you might just see her in a I have an ongoing deck that I want to try to use her with. So let me save the strategy for the video that y'all gotta check out soon, man. And yeah, man, this is gonna be the end of this weekly balance patch, balance change, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think of my analysis. Am I talking crazy? Am I making sense to you guys? Y'all let me know. Give me your opinions on the cards as well. Hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll see y'all next time.